Yeah. Like you said, the bowling is going to be the problem area right through the World Cup. We don't have, India doesn't have the firepower with the new ball. There is a little bit of inconsistency. There's a lot of inconsistency in the way they finish innings, and spinners don't seem to be making that much of an impact towards the middle stages, where basically you're looking for wickets. And with the fact that now you have two new balls and the fact that you can only have four fielders outside, so it all just sort of contributes to making India's task difficult, which is all the more reason why the batting has to deliver. The problem with India's batting in the last two matches that we have seen is that they have not got off to good starts, and I think at one level they are too obsessed with the fact that there is not much firepower after number 6, and that is one of the main reasons why they have been so hesitant at the start of the innings. You can just see that there is this sort of clutter in the mind, and they're not sure of what approach to take, because if they go hard at the new ball and then they lose wickets, then you have to rebuild, which is what has happened till now. And so they're mindful of the fact that, I think they're caught betwixt and between, so they're not too sure of what approach to adopt. And I think it's about time that they sorted the mental issues out. I think a lot of these are just mental issues, and once they get a greater clarity on how they want to build an innings, I think Indian batting will be in a much better place. I'm not sure if you don't want this sort of right approach. I think it's more like if he doesn't get runs, then you have to rework your strategies going into the World Cup. Just because you dropped him maybe for the first two games, there's no guarantee that he's not going to come back into the 11. There's no guarantee that the person who opens instead of him is going to have 4 or 5 good games. So he will not be superfluous. Obviously, India need Dhawan to score runs, and they need him to score attractive runs at the top of the order, because that's been his USP. Whenever he's scored, he's got on top of the bowling. I saw him work a lot with Ravi Shastri in particular today, and with Fletcher a little bit as well during nights. And he feels in a good space mentally. I mean, you can't make out from looking at him that he's under any kind of pressure, but that really doesn't say anything. At the end of the day, you have to go out and perform. And the sooner he gets runs, then the better it is, not just for himself, but also for the team, because then they can start to believe that the number 3 doesn't go in the second over or the third over. His problem has been that he has run into 2 excellent swing bowlers in Stark and Anderson, and he's not lasted any time against either of them. So he's just not had any time to settle in, and that is something that's working against him. It has been a very difficult summer for Australia off the field, with Philip Hugh's demise first, and then with Clark's injury, and then injuries to Watson, to Warner, to Johnson. It's not been an easy time for them off the field, but the fact that they have managed to string together so many excellent performances on the field, it's a tribute to their resilience, to their approach. The fact that they got Cameron White and Sean Marsh and Moses Henriques into the 11 for the last game, that was something that was forced upon them, because Warner was not available, Bailey was out suspended, so they had to work around the World Cup personnel, because Mitchell Marsh was still not fit to sort of bowl. Now that the World Cup is fast approaching, and the fact that Mitchell Johnson and Josh Hazelwood have both had enough rest after that grueling test series against India, you will see that increasingly Australia will play their best 11 tomorrow. I don't see Johnson playing tomorrow against India, but come the final, and you'll probably have the first 11 out of the park, with the exception of Stark. Yeah, you could say that they're under pressure, because once Clark comes back, then you have to find an opening for him in the slot, which means in the 11, which means that one of Maxwell or Bailey will have to sit out. Till now, it was Stephen Smith who used to make way whenever Clark came back from injury. But now that Stephen Smith has made himself an indispensable part of of both the Test and the one-day sides, you will have to look beyond Smith for someone to sit out when Clark comes back in. Bailey has led the team very well, so he finds himself in this position now where he might be captain for one game and out of the 11 for the next. But his cause is sort of being helped by the fact that Maxwell has played some really poor shots in the last few matches, and he's got out playing some irresponsible shots. So I think Australia are mindful of the fact that while he's got tremendous talent, but also temperamentally he might be a little suspect. He's great when the shots come off, but when they don't, like they didn't against England the other night in Hobart, then it looks pretty silly. Interesting to hear Dhoni speak at length about Jadeja in particular. Usually Dhoni is the kind of guy who keeps his cards close to his chest and he doesn't let anything out. But obviously India are concerned about not rushing Jadeja in particular back into the 11. I think Ishant is quite okay because he bowled full tilt in the nets for the second time in 3 days. He didn't look at any discomfort. With Jadeja, the problem is not so much his bowling, but his throwing. He has a left shoulder injury. He's just coming off a left shoulder injury. So India have to be mindful of the fact that they don't overstress the left shoulder, because however much you might try to nurse the shoulder, once you're out there in a match situation, your instincts take over, the adrenaline takes over. So you will let go. You will not play at 80% if you are throwing in from the deep. You're going to give it your all. So that's the risk India probably might not be willing to take tomorrow against Australia, because Jadeja going forward is a key member with his striking down the order and with his control over his left arm spin, not to mention his brilliant fielding. So India will probably keep Jadeja in reserve. Jadeja obviously needs some match practice going into the World Cup. India have to warm up games against Australia and Afghanistan before the first game against Pakistan in Adelaide. So it's a delicate balance, but I think Jadeja probably will be given a couple of more days to get back to 100% fitness. I think Ishant is good to go.